Hello and welcome to Big Weekend here on the Football365 show. I'm Mark Smith. I'm here as ever with Sarah Winterburn. If you like the show, don't forget to like and subscribe and press the little notification bell. Lots to talk about this week. We're going to talk about the biggest game of the season so far, I think, Man City versus Liverpool. We'll talk about Arsenal against Villa. And what I'm really looking forward to is seeing how Southampton get on without Danny Ings. So all that plus much, much more on the show. This is Big Weekend brought to you by Paddy Power. Right, Sarah, I reckon this is the biggest game of the season so far. Man City versus Liverpool. Is it too early or too insane to say this is a title decider?
It's insane, Matt.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. It's not a title decider, but yeah, you're right. It is the most exciting game of the season so far. And what's brilliant is that both teams are coming into it in form. In different kinds of form. And, you know, things aren't going swimmingly for Man City in the same way that we've seen them sort of 2-3 seasons ago. But suddenly they look quite tight at the back. Liverpool, obviously, we've not seen that defence against a really good side. And Man City are a really good side, regardless of not being quite as sharp as they have been. It's not a title decider, no, but I think it's going to be a massive psychological advantage to whoever wins this one.
Yeah, that's what I meant, really. You know what I meant. Come on. Now, the season has been completely mad so far, really, hasn't it? It's been really sort of tumultuous. But having said all that, Liverpool, there is one constant, and they are still top of the league. Whereas Man City don't look that scary anymore. So, I mean, what do you make of it? How do you see this one going?
They don't look that scary, but I watched them on Saturday against Sheffield United, and they didn't look like they could concede. And I know it's only Sheffield United, but that combination of Ruben Diaz and Aymeric Laporte at the back looks so much better than anything we saw earlier in the season. If you look back at that Leicester game that they lost so embarrassingly, you know, 3/4 of that defence is gone. Not dead, just gone. But this is a different City side. Unfortunately, they're facing a Liverpool team who look absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the performance against Atalanta on Tuesday. Now, the Italian side were terrible.
Yes.
But Liverpool's front three were phenomenal. Now, this is a massive test for that Man City defence, isn't it? And how do I see it going? I'm going to say high-scoring draw. Yeah,
I sort of agree. As part of my four-way accumulator, which you can get involved with, I'm going to go for both teams to score here. But you're right, Man City sort of quietly going about their business. Nothing too flashy, but getting it done. Liverpool, without playing that well still, are top of the league and just look great. Let's move on. Let's talk about Arsenal against Aston Villa. I think we're going to see Aubameyang do something in this game. He scored against United in that win away at Old Trafford. Didn't look too involved in the game to me, though. I think this is the game for him to start breaking out for this season.
It's hard, isn't it? Because he's put out on that left-hand side, and apparently he's perfectly happy with that. He's fine with it. There's no suggestion that he isn't happy being on that left-hand side. It does kind of take him away from the action quite a lot.
Yeah.
So will we see him step up against Villa? I'm still waiting for that Arsenal performance that dominates the team. We've seen this really hard to beat side, and oh my God, they've got a sort of, you know, the spine and the bottle that we never thought they'd have 2 years ago or even a year ago. They look really difficult to beat. Gabriel's a phenomenal signing, but they're yet to dominate a game. They're yet to put their stamp on a game and say, look, we're much better at this than you are. And that'd be great to do that this weekend, because, you know, that win against Man United was really, really positive. But it was a victory born of solidity and a victory born of organisation and discipline. It'd be great to see them sort of step out of that and do something else. And part of that would be Aubameyang. You know, you would think he would be central to anything, you know, any performance where they absolutely dominated a team. You know, that's what we're missing from Arsenal. We're missing that, you know, Tottenham have done this, haven't they? And you'd think that Arsenal might look across North London and think, do you know what? We could be a better side than that. We're a more balanced side than that. But they're missing that attacking impetus at the moment. And maybe that's part of the plan and they're going to get there. I'd love to see that this weekend, though.
Yeah, I think you're right. They're a team that seems to be enjoying defending, and now it's about finding that balance going forward. But I think this is Aubameyang's game. I'm going to go for him any time to score in this one. Right, let's move on. Everton against United. Now, United will have travelled to Istanbul and back in the week, and then they had the early kick-off on a Saturday away at an Everton side who weren't very good last weekend, but were missing key players. Looks like James Rodriguez may be back for this. Luca Digne had his ban turned into just a one-game one, so those two players might be back. Still going to be missing Richarlison, though. How do you see this one going? Because I think this is a tough game for United.
I think it's tough, but I'd fancy them. I think away from home, their record is so much better than at home. And we saw from Everton the last couple of weeks, they've massively missed Richarlison.
Yep.
You know, James Rodriguez has got and Dominic Calvert-Lewin have got all the accolades so far this season, but the one thing that binds them together is Richarlison. On that left-hand side, he does so much work. He gets back a lot. He does a lot of linking up work. You know, he hasn't had the goals that his football has deserved, but he's probably been the more outstanding player in that game if you look beyond that team, if you look beyond the stats. And he really does sort of knit all that together. Without him, I mean, Lucas Digne being able to play and James Rodriguez being able to play, massive boost for Everton. But I just have a feeling about Man United, they're only ever sort of one or two bad results from an absolute crisis, but they always seem to just do enough to pull themselves back from the brink. And you can imagine this is the kind of game where they are going to do enough. Just going into the international break, you know, because if they lose that game on Saturday, there's a massive space there, wide open space for all the speculation to start again and all the pressure to come on again. And to avoid that, they've got to get a result at Everton. And I do fancy they will do that because they do tend to do just enough to pull themselves back from the brink.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go for United away in this one. I think that they enjoy letting the opponents have the ball and hitting them on the break, and that it's sort of set up perfectly. I can imagine it being a lovely sunny day on Merseyside, United going at an early victory. Right, I want to talk about Leicester City against Wolves, but specifically about Leicester City at home, because away from home, similar to United in a lot of ways, away from home they've been pretty spectacular, really. I'd argue they're maybe the best team away from home in the Premier League at the moment. I mean, the win at Arsenal and the win and performance more recently at Leeds, and they beat Man City away. If they can marry that up with some decent, solid home form, are we going to see Leicester be in the top 4 or top 5 again this season?
I think there's certainly an argument that they could help form a sort of top 7. I think they're certainly the closest to be able to get there on a permanent basis. They've got a couple of sort of players who could get into any of those top 6 teams, and they've got a manager who's probably, you know, almost as good as most of the managers in that top 6. Certainly better than a couple of them. Leicester massively lend themselves, like Man United, to playing away. It's bizarre, isn't it? Even with no fans, there's almost like teams still sort of take on the tactics as if there was a real difference between being home and away. So you get that. Those are great away sides, are great counter-attacking sides. Leicester are probably the best of the lot, and Jamie Vardy is absolutely the best counter-attacking footballer in the country, and he absolutely thrives on the opposition taking the initiative and then hitting them on the break. Leicester are absolutely happy to have 40% possession, and they can easily sort of outscore you and outshoot you by a mile. You know, the difference then you go home to a team who's not going to take the initiative, and Leicester are going to struggle because they're not that kind of side. They're not set up like that. Jamie Vardy's not set up to play in a sort of possession-based system. So yeah, they do need to get that home form better. How they do it, I don't know. I don't know whether you have a completely different set of tactics to play at home. You know, we'll certainly see at the weekend.
Maybe stay in a hotel overnight like Ollie's getting United to do. Right, I want to talk about Southampton.
Everyone loves a hotel.
Everyone loves a hotel, of course they do. Danny Ings, I want to talk about Southampton against Newcastle. Danny Ings, thankfully the injury isn't as bad as I think we first feared, given his quite recent injury history. But it looks like he might struggle to make this game. Now, what does Southampton do without him? Che Adams has been fantastic. Is he the man to lead the line, though? Because he seems to be dropping in a bit deeper than Danny Ings.
I think he's going to have to push it front, isn't he? I mean, the Ings looks like he'll be out for 4 to 6 weeks, which is a long time for a club like Southampton, who are really on the verge of sort of joining that group at the top of the table and just need 2 or 3 consistent results, really. And Danny Ings is a big part of it. But the brilliant thing is this season he's not been the only part of it.
Yeah.
You know, last season they would have massively struggled without him because he was scoring. I think he scored a greater percentage of their goals than any other player in the Premier League. So being without him would have been an absolute disaster. It's still a massive blow, but they do look better. Che Adams looks a different player to last season. I mean, I know he's not scoring a load of goals, but he looks lively.
He's making goals
all
as
the
well.
Right runs.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing goals from across that team. You know, James Ward-Prowse scoring a couple again at the weekend. You'd be silly to say they're not a poorer side without Danny Ings, but they're certainly not in the mess that they would have been a year ago.
Yeah. James Ward-Prowse, is he the best free kick taker, dead ball specialist in the league at the moment?
I think he probably is. He's the closest you get to sort of a guaranteed shot on target, at least. You know that his technique is clearly very, very good. You know, and the danger with him, that he gets pigeonholed as just a free kick specialist, where he's a great midfielder. I mean, at that level, he's an absolute. You'd argue that Ralph hasn't. I can't say his name.
Easy for you to say. Yeah.
Ralph. You'd argue that the Southampton manager would rather lose Ings almost than lose Ward-Prowse at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. But let's talk about Southampton's opponent here, because Newcastle, very quietly, doing well this season. I mean, another good result last weekend. Callum Wilson's hit the ground running. Steve Bruce and his Newcastle side, after all that stick he got when he first joined the club, and they're 2 points off Everton at the minute.
They defy everybody. You watch them play, you look at the statistic, and whether you look with your eyes or you look at the numbers, they don't make sense. It just makes no sense that they're doing okay. In terms of XG, once again, that they massively struggle. They allow too many shots. They don't take enough. Everything about their form screams relegation, apart from the actual results.
Yeah.
It makes it, to bring in Callum Wilson, probably one of the signings of the summer, I would have said, because if you're going to play that way, if you're going to play so defensively, and so much the percentages, and you need a player who's going to get on the end of those chances, and Wilson does that. The problem with Wilson is he is quite a spurty striker. So he may score. He may have these sort of 10 games at the beginning of the season where he scores 6 or 7 goals. Then he might not score for 3 months, and that's what he's done. And that was a problem at Bournemouth, and that's why part of the reason why Bournemouth ended up in the mess they did, because he loses that. He misses big chances all the time, and usually takes enough. But when his confidence goes, he suddenly doesn't score for like I said, for 2 or 3 months. So Newcastle may be in trouble when that happens, or if that happens, because they don't really have another goal scorer.
You say this, but up step Joe Linton. You'll see, 25 this season. I can feel it. In that game, by the way, I'm going to go with Che Adams, anytime scorer. I think he's going to step up to the plate and do something big this weekend. Sarah, that's all we've got time for this week. Thank you for joining me. Thank you guys at home for watching. If you want to back my full-way accumulator, the odds for that are below now. And by the way, if you miss out by one result, Paddy Power will give you your money back by way of a free bet. Good lads, Paddy Power. Right, we'll be back at the same time next week. Thanks, Sarah. Cheers, guys.